Welcome back to MGD 111 Photoshop 1. We're going to look at some other features that we can do with our selections. In the past, all we've done so far is just make color adjustments and things. But I have the girl here on her sled selected. I highlighted this myself, or I made a selection. If I were doing this for a professional job, I would have done it even more precise. And I'd use some feathering and really get detailed with it. But it's a pretty good selection there. So if I hit copy, Command C, I'm going to zoom out just a bit here. And then I hit paste, Command V, you'll see that it looks like the selection just disappeared. Well, not really. What happened here is it pasted a new copy of that thing in the exact same place. Watch what happens if I go to my Move tool at the top of the tools here and move. You'll see, hey, there's a separate version of her. Pretty cool, huh? Now, what did we do here? Well, anytime you paste something into a Photoshop document, there's some exceptions to this, but anytime you paste something, it creates a new layer. Now, if you don't have your layers palette handy, go up into Window, and you're going to want to grab that because this is a really, really useful tool to have. You'll see that we have what's called the background layer, and it looks like the entire picture, which comes in handy, and layer 1. If you look really closely, you can see that it looks like the girl on her sled here. Cool thing about this is if I move her up to the top of the picture, you'll see that she moves there as well. So the little icons here, actually, they're live updating. This is a fairly new feature in Photoshop. This is pretty cool. So what do we have here now? Well, we're going to cover layers in much greater detail later on this semester in a few weeks. But I need you to be aware of, anytime we have multiple layers, anytime you do something like an adjustment, we're on layer 1 here, which is where she's pasted. If I do brightness and contrast, you'll see that she's affected, but the rest of the image is not. Okay then. Let's click on background over here. You'll notice I had layer 1 highlighted in blue. If I click on background and go to image adjustments, you'll see that I will affect only the background image, but where I pasted her is not affected. So we need to make sure that we're working in the correct layers. Eventually we're going to want to flatten this to make it part of one seamless picture. But as long as we're working in layers, we can actually move this selection around. And unless we hit copy again on something else, if I hit paste again, there she is again. Whee! We can have multiples over here. I'm going to get rid of her though here. And by the way, if you want to get rid of a layer, if you just select that layer in your palette and click on the little trash can, it'll get rid of that layer. There you go. Now, what can we do with this? Well, we can move her around and put her in a particular place here. Now, you might notice that my selection has a couple of rough spots on it here. Let me just zoom in a little bit this way. There we go. You notice I have a very sharp edge on the bottom here where the snow is. Maybe I want to try to clean that up a bit. So I can use my selection tools again. Make sure that you're on layer 1 here in your palette. I'm going to use my lasso tool. I've got my feather set at 3 pixels, and I'm just going to kind of draw some fluffy snow at the bottom here and just close this out. And I've hit Command X, which is cut. You'll notice it removed part of the sled here, and I put this nice soft edge at the bottom. It also did something else. You notice it didn't cut a hole in the picture. What it did is it exposed what was on the background layer behind it. So that's kind of a cool thing about working with layers, is whenever we do anything like erase or delete part of the selection, it allows us to replace it with the what was behind there. So again, I'm just going to kind of take care of this little edge right here. Polygon lasso tool. I have sort of a fakey looking edge right along here. Let me just select this area. And again, it doesn't matter what part of the background I select, that won't be affected. It's only the part of layer 1 that falls inside this lasso. Watch this little edge here that's going to disappear and look a little bit more smooth. So we're able to use our selection tools in separate layers to make it a little bit more realistic. Now there's definitely some more fantastic things that we can do once we have that, but there's the basis of it. By the way, I want you to save this as is, so I'm going to hit save, and you'll notice it's going to try to change it to a PSD file. What that is it's an unformatted Photoshop document, and that's okay. Whenever we're working with a file that we have temporary layers in, that's okay to work in. So Save that, and we will learn some more about selections here.